Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today, after the old day job, I am off to check out the new horror film, Return to Silent Hill. Return to Silent Hill is directed by Christoph Gans and is starring Jeremy Irvin, Hannah Emily Anderson, and Robert Strange. It tells the story of a man who receives a letter from his long-lost lover to go to the city Silent Hill, the long-forgotten haunted town. This is a direct sequel to the 2006 Silent Hill film, to the best of my knowledge. It seems like they're retconning... God, I can't even remember the name of the sequel they put out for that movie. Now, I actually really enjoyed the 2006 Silent Hill film. I thought it was extremely well done. It really got the vibe of the video game. Sure, the story wasn't exactly the same as the first video game, but there still was elements there. They tried to mix in all sorts of stuff. They tried to get elements of 2 in there, 3 in there, and so on. Now, this film, from what I understand, is going to focus mostly on the story from the second Silent Hill game. And of course, we have the return of Pyramid Head. Well, as he's called in the movies, it's Red Pyramid. But I always called him Pyramid Head in the video game. Now, most gamers, I think, who played these games also called him Pyramid Head. But guys, I was a big fan of Silent Hill back in the day. I really enjoyed the game when it came out on my first PlayStation. I think it was released in '98. And I thought it was just an absolutely perfect horror survival game. And to this day, I still think that the first Silent Hill and the second Silent Hill are two of the best survival horror games ever made. But let's hope that this second film holds up to the legacy of this franchise. And you know what, guys? It is enough of the jibber jabber. It is time for me to get out the door because first off, of course, I got to get to the old day job, and then I'm off to see Return to Silent Hill. Welcome back, just getting home from Return to Silent Hill. And guys, I don't want to return to Silent Hill in film form for quite some time. Now, if this movie was the game that it was based off of, I probably would have had some fun with this. Because with games, if the story sucks, you still have fun gameplay and beautiful graphics to fall back on. But with a film, you could put the lipstick on a pig as much as you want, but if the script isn't there, that movie just ain't gonna do it for me. And that is exactly what happened with this film. So let's get this party started, shall we? We're gonna get things started with negatives, then move into the positives, to end the video on the ever so important high note. The first thing I want to talk about is the acting in this film. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that the acting was terrible, but to be perfectly honest, it really felt like I was watching cutscenes in a video game. No shade to the voice actors in video games. It wasn't the voice acting that was the issue. It was body movement, body placement. The way our actors decided to place themselves in the scenes just didn't work well. It just felt very awkward and strange. But if this were a video game, things probably wouldn't have been so bad. The dialogue of this film is just so unnatural and strange. It is definitely just movie talk. The story itself is extremely incoherent and goes absolutely nowhere. This film is a complete and absolute waste of time if you're going in there to watch a movie with well fleshed out characters and extremely driven story with lots of stuff going into it. This movie is nothing like that. Now, it does move just like a video game. It just kind of moves moves from one level to another level. And let me tell you, the level design was on point, but let's just say that the levels themselves did not work. And I mean, honestly, that's how it is. He's not necessarily searching for anything. I mean, he is. He's supposed to be trying to find the love of his life. His girlfriend is lost in this city. He gets this mysterious letter, and so he goes to try to find her. So there's a little bit of mystery involved in this, but he's not necessarily trying to figure out the mystery. He's just kind of going from one place to another. It's just like he has an adventure in one building, let's say the hospital. So he goes into the hospital, he completes the hospital level, so then he has to move on to the apartment building. So then he goes into the apartment building, he finishes that level, and then he moves on to something else. And that is exactly how this movie goes. It just goes from place to place. No narrative reason for him to really move on. He does know that he's supposed to get to the hospital because that's where she said she was in her note, but other than that, he really doesn't know what's going on, and he's not necessarily trying to discover anything whatsoever. When it comes to the mystery of what's going on in Silent Hill, do not worry, because just because there's no mystery attached to it, it's not like you're not going to find out what's going on. There are some characters and some real people that he bumps into throughout this film, and what they do is they just explain everything to him when he finds them. So anytime he runs into a real human, they just expo dump on him, let him know what's going on, and then he moves on to the next human. Finds the next human somewhere in the game. I'm still calling it the game. Somewhere in the movie, he finds another human. He has his interactions with that human, and they give him more information about why this is happening in Silent Hill. And yes, in a video game, sure, you do stuff like that. You go from one person to another person, getting information to try to figure out what's going on. But you still snoop around, you still go around looking into different rooms and trying to find items and things of that sort. That is not what goes on in this movie. He just goes someplace, walks down a hallway, some monsters show up, he goes, and, kind of gets away from them. Sometimes he tries to fight them, most of the time he just kind of wanders off or something like that. The story is just weak, and the ending of this film is going to leave you with more questions than answers. Nothing really comes together. Our characters are extremely unfleshed out. These are just people up on the screen saying words. There is no characterization given to anybody in this movie whatsoever. And again, with a video game, if you're playing it and you're sitting behind the controller, sure, you can kind of give your character their own personality because it's an interactive thing when you're playing the video game. But when you're watching a movie, the character has to develop in front of you. There has to be a hero's journey, and especially if it's searching for his girlfriend, there has to be something there. This film was just a really pretty package with absolutely nothing inside. The acting in this film is also very bland and stiff. It honestly feels like NPCs just talking to you. There's no real any kind of acting going on. Our main character, he just kind of is bewildered throughout the entire thing. And it's weird because his character does know where he is. He's been to Silent Hill, he knows this town, and he knows things there. But he just seems so surprised every time he goes somewhere throughout this entire film. It's very stiff acting, very weird kind of just story development, the way this film plods along, and unfortunately this movie pacing is just boring. This film tries to be a slow burn horror movie, and in order to be a slow burn horror, you need to have suspense, tension, overwhelming dread. If you're not going to be using jump scares and using other types of fear to drive home the horror aspects of this, then you really gotta hit it with that dread. You really have to create that overwhelming sense of just fear and tension. But no, this film does none of that. Now, I will say the sets and everything are absolutely gorgeous, and I really like the look of this film. But when it came down to trying to be a horror movie, it fails on every point. I never once felt fear. I never once felt uncomfortable. I never felt like I had to hide my eyes or look away or anything. And to be perfectly honest, the rest of the audience was pretty much the same way I was. And I'll be honest, it was very surprising because I went and saw a 5 o'clock showing. I feel kind of weird because I was able to get off work early to go see this movie. And then I'm like, well, that was crap. But anyways, we're in there and it is a fairly full theater. Now, it's not a huge theater by any any means, but it's pretty packed full. And I didn't hear a peep out of one person the entire time. Not a little yip, not a little scare, not a head, nothing, not anything for the entire movie. The credits started up and people just started packing their crap up and took off. I didn't hear anyone say anything. Nobody was really discussing the film. I didn't hear any cheering. There was no clapping, not a sound. People gathered and they left. That is never a good sign, to be perfectly honest, guys. But you know what? I have sat here and I have beaten this movie to death on all of the things I couldn't stand about it. So what did I like? I keep going back on those visuals, so let's just talk about that. Are the visuals as good as the first movie? Honestly, no. I thought the first film, its look and everything was way better than this one. I love the effect that they would use when they would transform the world from the regular Silent Hill world with all the ash to the Rust world, and it looked like lead paint peeling off walls, becoming the Rust world. I loved that effect. They do something similar in this movie. It's not nearly as impactful, but it is neat when they transform, go from one world to the next world. It was pretty impressive. All in all, the set design of this movie was really good. I liked the look of this film. The makeup design was on point. There was, just like the first film, there was a lot of practical puppetry effects used in this movie, with CGI kind of helping it out a little bit. So there was still some very solid, good-looking practical effects in this. A lot of callbacks to some of the other monsters and all from the first movie. I would have to say I was a little disappointed. We don't get a lot of Red Pyramid in this movie. Pyramid Head is there, but he's not nearly as predominant as he was in the game, if you ask me. But all in all, guys, pretty. This movie is pretty. It's visually stunning. The cinematography was outstanding. I absolutely loved the camera work in this film. It really did add to the vibe that I was playing a video game. There were moments where I was really wishing that I could just turn it off, but no, that's not what I was doing. I was watching a movie, but I loved the camera work in this film. Really set a good vibe for everything, and it really added to the beauty. Set design was on point. The soundtrack, the musical score, just like the first film, outstanding. Now, I do believe that the same person who did the original film's score also did this movie's score, and he also did the first video game's musical score also. So he brings a lot of that to this film, and it sounds amazing. I love the music. But all in all, guys, I would have to say that this movie was a 110% fail for me. This is not something that you want to waste your money on. Maybe your time, if you are a huge fan of the Silent Hill series and you want to give this movie a watch, stream it out of curiosity. But in all honesty, guys, the only people I think that are really going to enjoy this movie are people who are big fans of the video game series. But all they're going to want to do is play this movie the entire time with a controller. Well, all right, guys, that's all I have for you. Like I said, this is a skip it, but if you're a fan, maybe watch it when it comes out on streaming out of curiosity. Well, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek, guys. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you could do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna. Well, first I'm gonna go play my copy of Silent Hill 2 on my OG Xbox so I can have a better experience tonight before I hit the sack. Have a great night, folks. Thanks for watching.